I worked as an NPC in a horror escape room to save up for my dowry. And for 5 times the pay during the National Day holiday, I was still playing a ghost in the escape room. As a result, my fiancé came with his white moonlight to book the entire room. Because his white moonlight was scared, my fiancé was furious and smashed the fake skull beside him into the back of my head. I was sent to the intensive care unit. After my fiancé found out, he not only didn't visit me, but also drove my family to ruin because his white moonlight had lingering trauma. My parents' studio was forced into bankruptcy, and I couldn't afford the medical bills, so the hospital kicked me out. In the end, I was humiliated to death by a group of beggars under a bridge in the suburbs. 2 lives were lost. Reborn, I'm back to the day they booked the escape room. This time, I won't be stupid enough to be bullied again. That day was the store's day off, and also Julian's and my anniversary. But Julian told me he had a social engagement and couldn't be with me. Bored, I went to the store with Maya at the front desk to help her clean up what hadn't been cleaned up yesterday. During that time, the manager called, saying that someone wanted to book the entire room, and asked if we could work overtime to host a session. In my past life, I thought it was nothing, plus there was 5 times the overtime pay, so I happily agreed. But I never imagined that day would become my nightmare. The phone rang again, making me shudder involuntarily. It was also at that moment that I realized I had been reborn. The manager's gentle voice came from the phone. Ava, someone wants to book the whole place today. They're very generous. Do you think you could work a little harder? Maya chimed in. If you accept, there's only Ava to be the NPC. Manager, are you trying to kill her? The manager was actually a good person. Except that he was a money-making fanatic. He was otherwise quite good. But I was going to have to disappoint him. Manager, I went for a checkup today, and the doctor said I'm pregnant. The pregnancy isn't very stable, so I need to rest for 3 days. Being pregnant was a fact, but in my previous life, I didn't know until much later, not until I woke up in the ICU. When the manager heard this, he quickly said, "Oh dear, pregnancy is a big deal. You can't joke about that. I'll call the customer back and refuse." Originally, I didn't want to be bullied by those dogs and women again, but who knew they would come directly to the store? I slipped into the hidden door, leaving Maya to face Julian's hail of bullets alone. You clearly have people in the store. Why aren't you receiving customers? Maya patiently explained. Sir, the main reason is that the store is closed today, and we don't have enough NPCs. Not enough? Call them back for me. The customer is God, do you understand? There was a pile of old props in the hidden door, and I was standing uncomfortably, so I moved slightly. Suddenly, a skull fell to the ground. Julian became even more angry when he heard the noise. So you clearly have people, but you still dare to deceive customers. Serena hooked Julian's arm and pretended to be weak. Honey, forget it. What can we do if the store is bullying its customers? Maya was already starting to get impatient. Miss, the way you're talking, you're putting a hat on people without even asking about the situation. We only have 1 staff member inside cleaning, and besides, she's pregnant. You can't expect her to play the whole thing by herself, can you? Serena was criticized and immediately burst into tears. Julian always liked to bite off more than he could chew and would definitely want to show off in front of Serena right now. He casually picked up the ceramic Lucky Cat from the front desk and smashed it at Maya. Blood instantly flowed from Maya's forehead. Serena was pleased this time. Honey, you're so awesome. These unscrupulous merchants deserve to be taught a lesson. Hearing this, Julian became even more inflated and smashed everything on the front desk. Then he threatened Maya. I'll ask you one more time, are you taking it or not? Maya also had a stubborn temper and, covering her forehead, emphasized. No. Fine, then I'll smash your whole shop today. Maya didn't back down either. Smash it. You think you won't have to pay for it? Just this little bit of broken stuff, I can afford to pay for it. Julian's family was indeed somewhat wealthy, otherwise, in my past life, he wouldn't have had the ability to bankrupt my parents' small studio. However, he was too arrogant and never put people with worse conditions than him in his eyes. The sound of things being smashed, clattering and banging, came from outside the hidden door. A flash of inspiration struck me, and I had an idea. They want to play, don't they? Then let them play a big one. Maya, accept the customer. but the customer needs to sign an agreement. If an NPC is accidentally injured, they will be liable for 3 times the compensation. I used a voice-changing walkie-talkie to instruct Maya, who was bewildered. But you. It's okay, don't we have a hidden, all-powerful NPC? I'll call him over now. Ronan appeared still wearing his pajamas, his eyes not even open. Didn't I say the store is closed? Maya helplessly pointed to the mess on the floor. Brother Ronan, there's nothing I can do, the customers insisted on making trouble. Ronan finally opened his eyes, but adhering to the principle of customer supremacy in the service industry, he still restrained his anger. Little brothers and sisters, you can play, but these things. Julian patted his chest triumphantly. I'll pay for it. Ronan didn't say anything more, and turned to enter the changing room. Please wait a moment, I'll change my clothes. Maya, take the guests to sign the agreement, and bring them to the entrance after they sign. The waiting area quieted down, and I finally felt relieved to come out and apologize to Ronan, who was wearing a mask. I'm sorry, Brother Ronan, I'm not feeling well today. Ronan waved his hand casually. I heard Mr. Davis said, the baby is important, you should rest well, I'll take care of these 2 bastards. I was grateful for Ronan's understanding, but thinking of Serena's deliberately feigned fragility and Julian's violence, I still reminded him. Brother Ronan, be careful. Maya and I huddled in the monitoring room to watch the fun. From the moment she entered, Serena began to act like she was extremely scared, clinging tightly to Julian. That was one thing, but I saw an even more disgusting scene. Before the game starts, we let the guests stay in the small dark room at the entrance for 3 to 5 minutes. During this time, no NPCs appear, first to allow the guests to adapt to the darkness, and secondly to increase their fear of the unknown. I saw Julian and Serena hugging each other tightly on the sofa. Suddenly, Julian looked up and searched around. I knew he was looking for the surveillance cameras. But the surveillance cameras in our escape room are covered with small red dots, so you can't see them. Julian probably thought there were no surveillance cameras in the room, and began to become unscrupulous. Darling, I'm getting turned on. His hoarse voice came from the monitor, and the strong desire almost made Maya and I want to throw up. As he spoke, Julian's hand had already reached into Serena's skirt. Serena was a little uneasy. Jianan, will anyone see? Don't worry, I checked. But, darling, please help me. Jianan, I'm just afraid people will find out. You're about to get married. What if it affects you? Don't mention that old hag, you're ruining the mood. It would be best if she found out. If my grandfather hadn't forced me, would I marry her? I sneered and quickly pressed the record button. Maya looked shocked. Ava, you have this hobby. Seeing that I didn't speak, Maya wanted to stop me. Ava, this is illegal, I'll go remind them. I grabbed Maya. Don't worry, I'm just saving evidence. The old hag he's talking about, his fiancé, is me. In the previous life, I was busy preparing in the escape room, and Maya was busy cleaning up the reception hall. No one noticed what these 2 were doing in the small dark room. Maya was even more angry than I was and immediately pulled out the walkie-talkie to tell Ronan. Brother Ronan, scare the hell out of this cheating couple. That scumbag is Ava's fiancé. We didn't rush them, silently waiting for Julian and Serena to finish, and then used the walkie-talkie to direct them inside. The 2 walked and stopped, being all lovey-dovey, and finally arrived at the operating room. That was where my nightmare began in the previous life. At that time, I was lying on the operating table, covered with a white cloth, and I suddenly sat up, grabbing Serena's neck with both hands. Serena was so scared that she fell to the ground, wailing loudly. I was secretly praising myself for my progress, but when I turned my head, I saw Julian. Before that, I would never have thought that the person who booked the entire venue would be my fiancé. Even more, I wouldn't have thought that on our anniversary, he was actually dating another girl. I stood there in a daze, just about to open my mouth and question him, when Julian picked up the skull next to him and smashed it on my head. Before losing consciousness, I foolishly thought, it's all because of my ghost makeup. Julian couldn't recognize me. If he knew it was me, he definitely wouldn't have hit me so hard. Unfortunately, the events that followed shattered my illusions one by one, making me completely see Julian's true colors. Complex thoughts were interrupted by screams and cries coming from the surveillance monitor. At this moment, Serena was sitting on the ground, clutching her neck, crying her heart out. Jianan, he scared me to death. Still the familiar green tea recipe, I knew that Julian would start showing off in front of his beloved goddess next. Saving a damsel in distress has always been a man's dream. He casually picked up the innocent skull and smashed it at Ronan. With a loud bang, the skull shattered into several pieces. Hearing that sound, I subconsciously covered the back of my head. The pain of the last life felt like it was just yesterday. Fortunately, Ronan was tall, and the skull only hit his back. He immediately got angry. Buddy, you're deliberately hurting people. So what if I hurt you? What can you do to me? Ronan suppressed his anger and said in a low voice, apologize. Who do you think you are? A worker daring to ask a customer to apologize. Ronan asked one last time. You hurt someone and won't apologize, you think this will just pass? Julian didn't take it seriously at all, and said contemptuously, I'll just pay you. Isn't it just 3 times the price? No big deal. Ronan is a very easygoing person, but his easygoing nature depends on who he is dealing with. For someone as arrogant and overbearing as Julian, Ronan can immediately transform into a righteous embodiment of hatred for evil. Julian thought he could manipulate the powerless Ronan at will. Little did he know, the hidden NPC he looked down on today is actually our shop owner. Also, the Shanghai Circle's crown prince, who has been rebellious for more than 10 years, and insisted on leaving home to start his own business. Julian arrogantly scanned the QR code, and paid 100,000 yuan. Looking contemptuous, he said, Is that enough? Ronan had a "are you kidding me" expression. That's it. It's not even enough for me to do a basic checkup. Julian frowned. What hospital is so expensive? Are you trying to scam me? Nonsense, I'm so seriously injured, I have to go to Xieping Private Hospital. Julian hesitated. After all, everyone in the country knew that Xieping was a well-known medical institution exclusively for top tycoons. Ronan taunted. What? As a rich young master, you can't bear to part with this little money. If you can't even take this much responsibility, how can you give your girlfriend happiness? Ronan looked at Serena. Don't you think so, miss? I advise you, break up with him quickly. You can't have a man without responsibility. Julian was furious, and afraid that Serena would take his words to heart, he quickly explained. Yenxin, don't listen to his nonsense. You know how I feel about you. Serena hesitated for a moment, but still chose to believe Julian. Jianan, don't worry, I know how you feel about me. Seeing that the lovebirds were locked in, Ronan simply fell to the ground with a thud, acting like a rogue. Ouch, it hurts so much. I'm calling the police. Someone deliberately injured me. Actually, it's no wonder Julian couldn't imagine it. If it were me, I wouldn't associate the rascal in front of me with a young master of a wealthy family. But our young master is different from other domineering CEOs. While other domineering CEOs are keeping mistresses, he's setting up a haunted room in a secret chamber. While other domineering CEOs are involved in stand-in romance stories, he's been single for 28 years. While other domineering CEOs say, be here in 5 minutes, he humbly says to our staff, Okay, I promise I'll be there in 5 minutes. Julian fears nothing, but he can't overcome the law. He gritted his teeth and said, fine, go get checked, and bring me the invoice for whatever you spend. After saying that, he left his ID card and stormed off with Serena. Ronan rolled and got up, dusting off his clothes and saying to me, who had just come out of the hidden door, how was it? Good acting, right? Maya and I both gave a thumbs up. Ronan patted my shoulder and said with righteousness, Don't worry, brother Ronan will definitely help you get revenge this time. I thought Ronan's idea of getting revenge was just extorting another 50,000 yuan from Julian. But I underestimated him. When Maya and I accompanied him to the Xieping Private Hospital for a checkup, we found out that the hospital was actually Ronan's own property. Ronan went into action with lightning speed, and the astronomical figures on the bill made Maya and me shudder. Blood draw 5,000. Chest X-ray 7,000. Private room 10,000 a night. The most outrageous thing was a single portion of rice noodles 368. That scumbag didn't even know his money was all going to the young master's own business. Ronan, clinging to the 368 rice noodles, urged us, "Eat quickly, this is a caregiver meal, an expense covered by compensation." Maya and I finally felt a little relieved. With the rice noodles in my mouth, I mumbled, "Ronan, are these rice noodles really sold for 368? The 368 one is abalone and sea cucumber, ours is 38. I looked down at the invoice and Ronan scratched his head and smiled. "My dad said don't disrupt the rules, pay at cost price. Isn't this to save a little money to open a new store?" I have to say, this frugal young master of ours is truly a breath of fresh air in the world of domineering CEOs. To make the act complete, we took time off and stayed in the hospital for several days. During that time, Ronan forced me to the obstetrics and gynecology department for a comprehensive prenatal examination. Although I had already decided to break up with Julian, the child was innocent, and I decided to raise the child myself. So hearing the doctor say the baby was healthy, I was still very happy. However, Julian was not happy at all. After Ronan sent the first batch of invoices to Julian immediately came over with Serena. I hid in the toilet to watch the fun in advance. Julian threw the invoice in Ronan's face, angrily questioning, "I can tolerate you choosing the most expensive for all the checkups and hospitalization. I'll even accept sea cucumber and abalone for every meal, and needing 2 caregivers at all times. But why is there an obstetrics and gynecology examination form?" Ronan leaned on the hospital bed, leisurely peeling an orange. "You injured me, my pregnant fiancé was so anxious she almost miscarried. Don't you think you should pay for that?" Ronan suddenly slapped his forehead. "Oh right, if you hadn't said that, I would have almost forgotten, my fiancé's caregiver fees haven't been calculated yet. I'll go get an invoice later, and give it to you together." Julian felt that Ronan was making excuses and said angrily, "Your mouth is on your face, you can say whatever you want. Who knows if you really have a fiancé? If you don't immediately have your pregnant fiancé come out to testify, I won't acknowledge this obstetrics and gynecology bill. Besides, I'm also suing you for fraud." Julian was certain Ronan was lying. He firmly believed Ronan couldn't conjure up a pregnant fiancé on the spot. Ronan was indeed stumped. Others might be able to drag out an ex-girlfriend to help, but him? His love life was utterly barren. Besides me and Maya, who were like brothers to him, all his friends were just a bunch of guys. He couldn't exactly find a shaman to conjure up a female ghost from a secret room. Could he? Julian saw Ronan's apprehension and couldn't help but burst into laughter. "I knew it. You're a level 28 NPC earning commission. Which woman would be willing to have your child?" I couldn't stand Julian's arrogance any longer and walked out of the restroom. "I am his pregnant fiancé." Julian was inherently chauvinistic, the type who believed in do as I say, not as I do. So the moment he saw me claiming to be Ronan's fiancé, he rushed over and slapped me. My face instantly swelled up. Ronan and Maya wanted to help, but I raised my hand to stop them. I'd settle my own scores myself. "Ava, do you have no shame? You freaking look clearly I'm your fiancé." I laughed mockingly. "Oh, so you do remember you're my fiancé?" I pointed to Serena, who was clinging to Julian's arm like the main squeeze, and said coldly, "Then tell me, who is she?" Julian's pupils constricted. That was his sign of guilt. But a scumbag is always shameless, and he quickly recovered, stubbornly saying, "She's my college classmate." I'd scared twice. They all heard it in the secret room. "College classmates call you husband." Julian swallowed and continued to fabricate. "We're close, we just like to joke around and call each other husband and wife, so what? Which law says you can't joke?" Serena finally realized the situation and quickly shook off Julian's arm, waving her hands to explain. "Ava, don't misunderstand. I really am just Jinon's good friend. He said he was in a bind, and I happened to be free, so I came with him." Shinshin, don't explain to her. She's the one who put a green hat on me first." Ronan thought I was unaware of his relationship with Serena, and still acted as if he was the most reasonable person in the world. Serena, however, acted like a pitiful white lotus, trying to smooth things over. "Oh Jinon, no matter how wrong Ava is, she's pregnant now. No matter who the child belongs to, they're innocent, so don't hold it against her." Serena's words seemed unintentional, but were actually stirring the pot exceptionally well. Sure enough, Julian's ego was severely wounded. He suddenly lunged forward, grabbing my neck, his eyes bloodshot. Ava, you fucking slut. You'll sleep with just anyone. Tell me, are you marrying me just to make me a cuckold? Raising this bastard's kid? I tried to speak but couldn't, feeling my breathing become increasingly difficult. Luckily Ronan and Maya pulled me back. I coughed for a long time before catching my breath and asking Julian, I don't want to waste any more words with you. Cancel the engagement, pay up, and we'll be even. Julian sneered. Cancel the engagement, fine. But paying you, you slut who's pregnant with someone else's kid? You're dreaming. Hearing him call me a slut over and over, Ronan got angry and ripped the 4-drip down to smash it at him. Julian didn't dodge, and the 4-bag hit him squarely on the forehead. He looked at me with a scheming, sinister smile. Now that's good. Your lover has also injured me. We're even. As for the compensation, we're clear. Ronan and Maya couldn't help but curse him out, but Julian, relying on his thick skin, completely ignored them. I sighed deeply. Since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, then don't blame me for showing you no mercy. I pulled out my phone and held it up to Julian. Are you going to welch on the deal? Or do you want this? You choose. The phone displayed security camera footage, showing 2 people secretly engaging in lewd acts. I sneered. Julian, is this how you good brothers treat each other? Then I turned to Serena with sarcasm. Miss Serena, do you treat all your good brothers like this too? TSK, no wonder you have such a good relationship. You're so frank with each other, after all. Serena's face turned red, and after holding it in for a long time, she couldn't help but growl. Ava, enough. Then she turned her head and pleaded with Julian. Janan, your family is so rich, just pay some money to settle this. If this video gets out, how will I ever live? Julian clenched the invoice in his hand, pulled Serena closer to him, and whispered, this pile of invoices is just the beginning, who knows how much more it will cost later. The key is that I have to pay 3 times the amount. My dad will kill me. Xion, don't worry, even if the video gets out, I will definitely marry you. Hearing that Julian was just making empty promises, and didn't want to take responsibility, Serena became anxious. She grabbed Julian's collar and said angrily, that day you begged me to help you solve it, and you guaranteed that no one would ever know. Julian, do you want to abandon me? Let me tell you, you're dreaming. If you don't take responsibility, I'll immediately accuse you of rape. Julian's father and mother are businessmen who care about face and reputation, which greatly restricted Julian. He didn't dare to turn himself into a convict. But the huge compensation made him hesitant. He looked at me with a complicated expression and hesitantly opened his mouth after a long time. How about this, you give me the video and I'll pretend this cheating thing never happened. In the future, when you give birth to the bastard in your stomach, I'll still help you raise it. As for your lover, he hurt me, so we'll call it even. I'll give you face and not bother with him. Ronan, Maya and I looked at each other, speechless for a long time. Not because we were considering it, but because we were so shocked. We couldn't understand how someone like Julian could be so shameless. Coming back to my senses, I didn't answer him, but simply repeated, 3 times the compensation, and the day it's settled, I'll return the video to you. Julian gnashed his teeth in anger, pointed at me and said heavily, Ava, you're something else. His pretense of being rich even though he was hurting was once again on display. Isn't it just money? I'll pay. But your lover must also bear my medical expenses. I originally wanted to refuse, but Ronan spoke first, his tone full of disdain. Fine, I'll pay, and I'll be generous. I'll pay you triple. Go get it checked, bring the invoice to get the money. No, why did you agree to him? I have leverage over him. I'm not afraid of him not listening. Oh, it's not much money, just like giving alms to a beggar. Brother Ronan, you're so good to us. Oh, don't mention it, I didn't pay any money or anything, just moved my mouth. What do you mean? You didn't pay, then who paid for the money? Of course it's deducted from your salary. Me. The 3 of us were chatting idly when we heard a commotion outside. It turned out to be Julian jogging after the doctor, asking questions incessantly. Doctor, Why does Zhang's blood draw cost 5,000, and mine only 50? The doctor didn't even turn his head, coldly explaining, he has panda blood, so it's expensive. Then why don't I need a chest x-ray? Sir, you injured your forehead. What would you do with a chest x-ray? Then shouldn't I at least get a head CT scan? The doctor suddenly stopped and slapped his forehead. If you hadn't reminded me, I would have almost forgotten. It's better to do one just to be safe. Julian finally breathed a sigh of relief and said arrogantly, then give me the most expensive one in the whole hospital. The doctor readily wrote out the order. Julian couldn't understand the doctor's scribbled handwriting, so he could only ask the nurse who led the way expectantly, Miss, how much is this head CT scan? Sir, you are a new patient at our hospital, so we are offering a complimentary examination. Congratulations, this head CT scan is free. Maya and I, who were hiding in the dark watching the fun, almost died laughing. Julian still didn't give up, and insisted on being hospitalized for observation. But before the hospitalization procedures were completed, experts from major hospitals arrived. After careful consultation, a group of people signed the form confirming that he was fine. Julian held the 2 invoices, his face almost twisted with bitterness. I also happily compensated him with triple the medical expenses. Blood draw and dressing cost me a total of 333 yuan. But Julian was different. Ronan's first batch of medical invoices alone amounted to 120,000 yuan. Which meant Julian had to pay 360,000 yuan first. Julian emptied out all his personal savings, barely scraping together enough for the first compensation payment. After deducting 28,000 yuan in costs, Ronan transferred the remaining amount to me. Ava, take this money and use it to raise the child well. I'll transfer the rest to you after a while when I get it all together. But I was still careless. I didn't expect that Julian, not daring to ask his family for money, would do something desperate. That day, Maya and I were coming out of the hospital when, just as we reached a secluded road, a black Audi blocked our path. Julian and Serena each got out of the car, holding an iron bar, and surrounded Maya and me on the left and right. I quickly picked up a large rock by my feet, wanting to defend myself. Julian's iron bar was already pressed against my neck. Don't try anything funny. Hand over the video. Safety first, I obediently handed over my phone. Only after Julian had completely deleted the video from my photo album, did he throw the phone back to me. Call your lover and have him write a letter of reconciliation. Take a picture, and send it over. I did as I was told. Just as Julian was looking down, checking the contents of the letter of reconciliation, an SUV drove over from a distance. Serena held an iron bar against my lower back from behind, threatening, "Don't even think about shouting for help." I gripped the rock in my hand, silently gauging the position. Serena was behind me, so the probability of hitting her was low. So I changed my approach. Just as the SUV was about to pass me, I hurled the rock hard at the car body. The male driver stopped the car angrily. "Are you crazy? Why are you smashing my car?" Julian explained with a smile. "I'm so sorry, my sister has mental issues. How much will it cost to repair? I'll pay you." Seeing Julian's amiable attitude and that the car wasn't badly damaged, the driver waved his hand. "Forget it, everyone has their own problems. I'll just file an insurance claim." Seeing that the driver was about to leave, I couldn't worry about the iron bar behind me. "Brother, help." The driver turned his head and saw Maya and me, who were standing motionless. He immediately became wary. He squinted at Julian, who was standing behind Maya. "Brothers, what is going on here?" Seeing that things were exposed, Julian stopped pretending. He walked up to the driver, holding the iron bar, and said with a fake smile, "Brother, my wife cheated on me. We're dealing with it. Why don't you mind your own business?" It seemed like an explanation, but it was actually a threat. The heavy iron bar tapped the ground rhythmically. The driver frowned, turned around and walked towards his car. I sighed despairingly, looked up at the sky. It seemed like most people still didn't want to get involved in trouble. Just when I thought I was doomed, the driver got out of the car again. Except he had changed his clothes, and a gun was holstered on his waist. He smiled wryly. "I finally get a vacation, and they have to force me to earn merit." Julian and Serena had finally successfully landed themselves in the police station. They only had two choices: either go to jail for kidnapping, or obtain letters of forgiveness from Maya and me. But Maya and I didn't meet with them from beginning to end. They didn't even have a chance to ask for forgiveness. I thought this farce would end there, but then a lawyer brought Julian's parents to our door. Julian's father and mother knelt down in front of my parents as soon as they entered our house, sobbing. "Dear in-laws," Jianan acted impulsively this time. "Please persuade Ava." Jianan only did wrong because he was too heartbroken. No matter what, Jianan is Ava's future husband. If he gets a criminal record, it won't be good for anyone. Just let Ava forgive him this time. I had already explained the whole story to my parents, so they weren't surprised at all, and they didn't give Julian's parents a good look. My dad sat firmly on the sofa, coldly watching the two people kneeling in front of him. Julian is the one who wronged Ava. Why should Ava forgive him? My mom rarely got angry too. That's right, if you had seen the video of Julian messing around with someone else behind Ava's back, would you still have the face to beg our Ava? That's right, Julian deleted the video from my phone, but I had already made a backup beforehand. When my dad heard the word video, he kicked over the coffee table in anger. Get out, get out. My family won't accept this marriage. Seeing my parents' resolute attitude, Julian's parents immediately changed their tune. Do you think your daughter is such a great catch? She's the one who got pregnant first. And you wanted to trick our Nan into being a father. My dad was so angry that he grabbed an ashtray and threw it. Nonsense. My daughter isn't that kind of person. Julian's mother took out a pregnancy test report and threw it on the ground, sneering. We checked, Ava is over a month pregnant. But our Nan and Serena got together only half a month ago. Tell us yourselves who cheated first. My parents were speechless. I forgot to mention Ronan pretending to be the baby's father. I quickly explained. I was just too angry for that 1 minute, and used my boss to make him mad. Okay, it's good if it's not true. I knew my daughter couldn't possibly be someone who fooled around. That's how my parents are. They will always unconditionally believe in their child. But Julian's parents didn't accept it. They took turns blaming and insulting me, trying to morally blackmail me into writing a letter of forgiveness. I got impatient with the noise and called Ronan. Brother Ronan, can you help me ask if paternity tests can be done in early pregnancy? Ronan quickly called me back. Yes. Several experts in that area happen to be at Xieping for observation. I can ask them to do it for you, and the results will be guaranteed to be authoritative. 2 days later, I went to the police station and personally slapped the paternity test results on Julian's face. Julian's parents happened to be visiting at the time, and the three of them looked at each other with the report in hand. Julian was the first to react, saying, Ava, is this child really mine? I snorted coldly. Of course. I've never been with anyone other than you. The Chen family seemed to see hope, and a light of anticipation rekindled in their eyes. Julian grabbed my hand and apologized repeatedly. Ava, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Forgive me this time. I will definitely take good care of you and the child. Julian's mother chimed in. Yes, Ava, you don't want the child to be born without a father, right? Julian's father also offered an enticement. Ava, as long as you two live a good life, I will give all our company's orders to your parents in the future. Listening to these brainwashing promises, I wasn't swayed, but I was a little curious. Julian, aren't you deeply in love with Serena? Now you're willing to give her up and live a good life with me. Julian immediately pledged his loyalty. Who loves her? If she hadn't constantly seduced me, how could I have made such a big mistake? Then, do I need to write a letter of understanding for her? Julian shook his head like a rattledrum. No need. All the bad ideas were hers. That kind of bitch deserves to be arrested. At that moment, as a woman, I suddenly felt a little sorry for Serena, but I wasn't a saint either. If her own man wasn't saving her, why should I get involved? I just sighed. All right then. I don't want to make things difficult for you, but I can't get back together with you. Julian, as long as you give me a guarantee in writing, guaranteeing that for the rest of our lives, the child and I will have nothing to do with the Chen family, I'll consider the letter of understanding. The three of them exchanged glances back and forth for a long time, and finally reached a consensus. A wife and child can be replaced, but a life is gone forever. I successfully obtained the guarantee and happily kissed the paper. Julian impatiently urged me, full of anticipation. I've already written it. You hurry up and write it too, Ava. I stood up, took 2 steps back, and distanced myself from the 3 of them. I only said I'd consider it. As I spoke, I backed out of the iron gate and made a face at the end. Now I've considered it and I'm not writing it. Julian and Serena were sentenced to prison. After the trial, the Chun family of 3 embraced each other and wept. I was about to leave, but Ronan grabbed me and led me to the weeping family. I thought he wanted to curse them some more to vent his anger, but who knew he would take out a stack of receipts and place them in Julian's father's hands. This is the remaining medical expenses. Tripled, it's 540,000. Remember to transfer it to my card. Julian angrily cursed. That's between you and me. What does it have to do with my parents? Ronan looked at Julian slyly and smiled. I checked. You're the legal representative of your company, so your company's income should be used to pay back my money. Despicable. After Julian cursed, he suddenly remembered something. Ronan, you already wrote me a letter of reconciliation. I have a photo of it on my phone. Julian pulled out his phone like grabbing a lifeline, and opened the letter of reconciliation he had coerced me into getting. He pointed to the clearly visible name of Ronan at the bottom, triumphantly. Humph, you have nothing to say now, right? Ronan calmly took out his ID card, held it up to Julian and smiled like a fox. Sorry, there was a typo when I registered my household. My real name is Jiang Linyao. After speaking, he turned around handsomely, leaving the 3 of them dumbfounded. Julian's father looked at Ronan's back and his voice trembled with anger. A guy who runs an escape room dares to fight with me? I'll make sure he regrets it. I had just taken 2 steps when I heard this, turned around and whispered. Oh, I forgot to tell you, running an escape room is just his hobby. His real identity is the young master of the Jiang family, the #1 wealthy family in Shanghai. This time, there was finally silence behind me. I divided Ronan's compensation into 3 portions. 1 portion went to my parents for their business turnover, 1 portion was put into an education fund for the child, and 1 portion was invested in Ronan's new store. Because my pregnancy was getting further along, I couldn't be an NPC for the time being. So Maya was forced to become the only female NPC in our family, while I came to the front desk to replace her. Life returned to tranquility. Julian's family's company declared bankruptcy 3 months later. Julian's parents, like the super male guests before, suddenly disappeared. Maya and I kept pestering Ronan for gossip. Ronan, extremely annoyed, finally revealed a little bit. Go take a look under the bridge in the suburbs and you'll know.